They look like ghosts now. They've been so rubbed off. Hi, it's Kafka. Welcome to a new video. It's Pride Month, so it's time to talk about some good old lesbians. Today I'm not in cosplay, although one could argue that this is Marlene McKinnon in Crimson Rivers once she cuts off her hair. Today's video is another Marauders ship deep dive, specifically focusing on Dorlene, which is Dorcas Meadows and Marlene McKinnon. You might be asking yourself, who are these characters? Which is a valid question to ask considering that they barely exist in canon and have one line written about both of them. Dorcas and Marlene were essentially written by the Marauders fandom, so here are their personalities. Starting off with Marlene. Marlene can be a pretty closed-off person. She's very selective about the people that she's close to, but when she has people around her that she loves them very, very fiercely. Marlene is the cool girl of the group. She is often headcanoned as a punk or alternative. She's literally the cool girl, and that is her main vibe. She's very explosive, she's very loyal, and she will fight you if you annoy her, and she's valid for that. Marlene also has a very big love for music, and she's very artistic. At the same time, she also loves Quidditch a lot. She is a big sport girly as well as a music girly, and I love her for that. We love depth. She's often headcanoned to be very good at school, even though she acts like she's too cool and like she doesn't care, when she does actually care a lot about her grades and Hogwarts. She's often at the top of her class when it comes to career choices in fanfictions. But Marlene can come off as very laid back. She does have a lot of anxieties and she does deal with a lot. She is a chronic overthinker at times and she's always trying to live up to the expectations that people put on her, especially her parents. In the older fandom, she was characterized more as a very timid church girl, the good girl who wears cardigans and wouldn't dare curse. But that's the older fandom characterization, but I did want to mention that that is how she used to be described. So in certain fan fictions, her personality will be very different from what I just described, and it's always a shock to my system. Moving on to Dorcas. Whereas Marlene is the cool sporty punk girl, Dorcas is the cool sporty witch girl. Where Marlene is explosive and loud, Dorcas is cunning and cold. She is very fierce and she loves and protects her friends very aggressively. She is extremely loyal and she stands up for what she believes is right. She is very driven by her goals, her motivations, and her morals. She's very ambitious and intelligent, being an observer and very detail-oriented. Dorcas is very level-headed, being able to give great advice and a big sense of comfort to those around her. She's also amazing at school and magic in general, being one of, if not the most powerful character in the whole Marauders fandom. Starting with Marlene's appearance, the biggest fan cast for Marlene McKinnon is, of course, Sophie Thatcher, specifically in the show Yellow Jackets. You will see this the most, primarily in Dorlene edits. Other less popular fan casts for Marlene are Biba Doobie, specifically a more popular fan cast in the early 2020s, and also Suki Waterhouse. For Dorcas, the biggest fan cast is Falalala, though in edits I tend to see many different actresses, Enoch Yai and Lovey Simone. She is also often fan casted as Like a Funeral's art in a lot of edits. Marlene has blonde hair, often a wolf cut, any color eyes, though I personally picture her with brown eyes. She has an alternative sense of style and wears a lot of black and red clothes, and her makeup is done to match. She very much gives 70s rock star Joan Jett vibes. Dorcas has black hair and brown eyes. She has a gothic whimsical style, wearing lots of sheer tops in purple and greens. She very much gives me witchy 90s vibes, almost like she could be a character in The Craft. Dorlene's tropes and dynamics. Dorlene, just like many of the other biggest ships in this fandom, definitely have the whole Gryffindor/Slytherin trope going on. They are enemies to lovers, grumpy ex-sunshine a little bit. You know, typical tropes that this fandom loves to eat up. Marlene can be kind of shy at times, and Dorcas is very bold, so it leads to some really cute exchanges between the two, like Marlene overthinking their interactions, where Dorcas is completely unaware that Marlene is head over heels in love with her. And then once Dorcas realizes her feelings for Marlene, she's very loud and open about her love, and makes sure that everyone knows that Marlene is hers and her girlfriend. They give sports rivalry and rivalry in general, being both sport and academic rivals. Both girls are extremely talented and tops of their class, so they often fight for top marks. This leads to them being unfriendly in their early years, blinded by egos and complicated feelings, but once the girls grow up a bit and mature, they start to admire each other. Slowly spending more and more time together, their loathing turns to appreciation, then to love. An unfortunate common theme with Dorlene is in another universe. Even though they always have so much going for them, it never works out. Dorcas and Marlene are followed by grief and suffering everywhere they go, being soulmates who are never able to end up together. Their story doesn't have to end this way, to be cut short, but it always is. They're never able to get married and grow old together, despite being immensely deserving to. Fate having a cruel hand in their short lives. Marlene will always be offed first, and Dorcas will always have to grieve her girlfriend. There will always be a landmine. If you know, you know. Dorcas and Marlene are a couple that, to those around them, doesn't really seem to make much sense, but opposites do attract, and they fit together like puzzle pieces. When Marlene is too swept away by emotions and her hot-headedness, Dorcas is able to soothe her fire and help her see more clearly. And when Dorcas has trouble expressing her issues, Marlene is open and an inviting presence. If Dorcas needs help with anything at all, she knows that Marlene will be there in a heartbeat. And if Marlene is feeling stressed and nervous, she knows that Dorcas will comfort her and make her feel whole. Dorcas and Marlene are extremely loyal to each other, not tolerating a single bad word about their girlfriend from anyone else. They inspire each other to grow every day, always learning new things about the other, and would literally die for each other. They can have a prickly relationship at times, with both women being very stubborn and having intense morals that they uphold, but they will always simmer and come back together. Next is a timeline of their lives of Dorlene events. Note, though, that this isn't based off of a specific fic, it's more just a general idea of key moments in their lives. The girls both start at Hogwarts at the same time in 1971. Marlene is sorted into Gryffindor while Dorcas is put in Slytherin. The two girls grow up in separate friend groups, Marlene befriending the Marauders and Dorcas being a part of the Skittles. The two friend groups were often at odds in the early days of Hogwarts, the rivalry being created by Regulus and Sirius Black, because of their constant brother issues. Dorcas and Marlene grew up not liking each other, and being in constant competition both on their Quidditch teams and in classes. Marlene found Dorcas cold and unfriendly, while Dorcas found Marlene loud and careless. The girls were a series of misunderstandings and miscommunication in their early teen years, neither of them being able to understand the other and constantly misinterpreting the actions of the other. It's only around their 5th year that the two actually start connecting. When the girls finally have a conversation instead of just glaring at each other from across a room, they realize all their previous errors, and they don't actually hate each other, and instead just sorely misunderstood each other all of the years before. Dorcas begins opening up to Marlene, and the two slowly become friends. They're shy about their feelings for each other, neither of them wanting to be the first to confess. Dorcas is unsure about what she's feeling, and during their 6th and 7th years, Dorcas's friends start going down a dark path, one that Dorcas is deeply unapproving of. Understandably so. It's when she feels the most isolated and betrayed that Marlene is there for her. She welcomes Dorcas into her friend group of non-Death Eaters, and Marlene and Dorcas grow more deeply attached to each other. Then they confess their romantic feelings for each other and become girlfriends. After the girls graduate from Hogwarts in 1978, they are immediately thrown headfirst into the First Wizarding War. Both Marlene and Dorcas fighting on the side of the Order of the Phoenix and doing their best to help. Dorcas helping turn the tides of the war with her outstanding magical abilities. Despite the cold and darkness of the war, Dorcas and Marlene are each other's light and warmth. They fight for each other, deeply devoted to one another. When the fighting is ruthless, it's Dorcas that Marlene can turn to for comfort and advice. They're each other's motivation, each other's reason to keep going, to keep living. However, in 1979, between the ages of 18 and 19, Marlene and her family are offed. Their location, popularly headcanoned, to be given away by Peter Pettigrew. The secret of a spy in the Order, a fact that only Marlene knew at the time, dying with her. When Dorcas learns of her girlfriend's passing, she is driven by grief and challenges Voldemort himself. She is unfortunately offed shortly after Marlene, also between the ages of 18 to 19. The one positive is that they at least didn't have to live without the other for very long, at least. Dorlene is a ship that's gained popularity and relevance in the newer fandom, though it has technically been around for a while. But it was a very small ship before 2020. The earliest Dorlene fic I could find was The Gaudy Glow of the Neon Lights by Lysius in 2010, which is also part Wolfstar. Then, Just One Breath After Another by Woldy in 2011. This is the first Dorlene fic that has them as the main ship. The first mention of the ship named Dorlene I could find was in 2016 on fanfiction.net, and then again in 2020. I was unable to find anything related to Dorlene across LiveJournal, DeviantArt, Tumblr, and fanfiction.net from the 2000s, earliest mention of the ship being in 2010. I did, however, find out that Remus and Dorcas was a popular ship in the late 2000s. It was also hard to find anything related to Marlene in the 2000s that wasn't Black Kinnan, so as far as I could find anywhere on the internet, this ship didn't really exist until, like, the 2010s itself. Similar to a lot of new ships of this era of the fandom, Dorlene started with a week on Tumblr in 2022. A week is when you basically make a bunch of posts surrounding, like, one topic, and it's like a theme that everyone follows if you aren't aware of Tumblr shit. So yeah, the Dorlene week was held in 2022, and at the same time it started to gain prevalence on TikTok. Because of this, it is literally impossible to find old content of this ship, especially on older social medias. So for Dorlene archives, the source would have to be early TikTok and Tumblr. A As with everything in this current fandom, fanfiction reigns supreme and helps write these characters and ships as we know them. So here are the most popular / well-liked and influential Dorlene fic. These are all from AO3, by the way, because like I mentioned, there is nothing on older websites that exists. The first fanfiction I'm going to mention is The Hand That Feeds by Roller Coaster Words, written in 2022. This is the most popular main Dorlene fic with 200,000 hits. This is a long-form, canon-compliant Hogwarts / war fic centered around Dorlene. I've not read this fic, but I have read others from Roller Coaster Words, and I just know that this is a heart-wrenching one. A quote that I keep seeing from this fic is, "My lover," Dorcas hisses as Tom Riddle writhes in her grip, "was named Marlene McKinnon. She was brilliant and beautiful and brave, and her life was worth 1,000 of yours." I have heard a lot of really good things about this fic, as well as when I was doing my research for this video, this was the #1 fic that people would recommend, so if you're a big Dorlene fan, I feel like this is a must-read. Next, Honey Honey by Aeon Skova in 2023. This is the second most popular Dorlene-centered fic with 100,000 hits. This is an AU where Marlene survives and ends up being Harry's teacher at school. I wasn't able to learn or find out that much about this one because it isn't as popular as the others I'm gonna mention, but I did see quite a few people recommending this one as well. And it honestly sounds really cute. Next, there's Beauty and Tragedy by Bad Hot Dog 03 in 2024. Which is an amazing username, by the way. This is the third most popular Dorlene-centered fic with 44,000 hits. This one is still ongoing, though it hasn't been updated in over a year. This is a canon-compliant slow burn, rivals to lovers, long-form Hogwarts fic that covers their whole lives. Just off the vibes and word count alone, it's giving the Dorlene version of All the Young Dudes, and I mean that as a compliment. As for fanfictions where they aren't centered around Dorlene, but they're a background ship. So to start, I think that this is the easiest introduction. Crimson Rivers by Bizarre Stars, written in 2021. This is the most cursed shit I have ever done on this channel to date. And I know that I'm gonna get like 20 comments. This, along with another Bizarre Stars fic, is the most popular side Dorlene fic. Crimson Rivers is multi-POV, so you end up reading a side plot from Dorcas' perspective of their relationship. This one is heavy on angst, as Crimson Rivers is known for. This is also where you might have heard of a landmine and grape jelly. I won't give context or spoilers, but for those who know, you know, and you're horrified that I'm holding this right now. When I finished Crimson Rivers, I literally could not look at this jam for like a month without having like war flashbacks. Next, Just Lovers, again by Bizarre Stars. This is the other most popular side Dorlene fanfiction, and for a good reason. This is a Hogwarts fic that's known for being very light and fun, which it is. Dorlene are a really fun pair to read in this one, jam-packed full of miscommunication and being gay. If Crimson Rivers traumatized you, read Just Lovers to be fixed. And 3 other popular fanfictions with Dorlene as a side plot are Only the Brave by Sol Musa, Art Heist Baby by Ortebs, and Kill Your Darlings by Mrs. Moon. Other less mainstream Dorlene-centered fics that are well received by the fans include I Want to Be With You by Nana Cold Lamed, Ever the Loved by My Tiny Oceans, and Dancing with Our Hands Tied by Lesbian from Marlene. Another great username. Moving on to, of course, FANWORKS. FANWORKS, my beloved. If you want to find cute Dorlene, but also the Marauders Girls fan art, I'd highly recommend checking out Cute Girls Art. Their art style is super cute, and they're one of the very few accounts that center only around like the Valkyries and the women in the Marauders fandom. So if you're a fan of any of the girls, highly recommend giving them a follow. And as for fan films and portrayals of Dorlene, we all know where this is going. If you're a Dorlene fan and you've never seen A Bite of Peace, then what are you doing? It's a short fan film done by the Mischief Productions / Mischief Managed. It's currently not re-uploaded, so I'll have a link to the original film in my bio, which I'll switch out for their link once it gets re-uploaded on their channel. This is just the sweetest little video with gorgeous cinematography. This is a must for hardcore Dorlene fans. I think the first piece of media that I'd ever seen Dorlene in, and it instantly made me interested. Like, it's a really good introduction to the ship. And to close off this video, I have a bone to pick. Oh my god, Coffee Co. being controversial? No. So to end this deep dive off, I have a bone to pick, and it's nothing against Dorlene. No, it's actually in favor of them. When I was researching for this video, I failed to find any old Dorlene fan content. And okay, it just wasn't a popular ship before. I couldn't find anything, but that's because it just didn't exist. Fine. Then, when I was looking into fanfictions, I had to scroll till page 7 on AO3 of Dorcas / Marlene to find even one fanfiction where they were the main pairing. And then once I found The Hand That Feeds, I had to scroll for 10 minutes to find the next Dorlene main fanfiction, because everything else was Wolfstar and Jegulus. And when I found the most popular Dorlene fanfiction, it had 200,000 views, which sounds big, but when you compare that to the most popular Wolfstar fic having 17 million and the most popular Jegulus one having 5 million, that 200,000 really starts to look interesting. Are you starting to see my issue here? Dorlene is one of the biggest ships in this fandom. It is one of the first ones that come to mind when people list off Marauders ships, and for good reason. It is so much less popular than any of the gay ships in this fandom. Any fanfictions that don't have a male love interest perform so much lower than fics with one in this fandom. Women love women ships are much less popular than their gay counterparts, and I really wish it were more even. I mean, look at the views under this video and compare them to my views on my Jegulus and Wolfstar deep dives. My guess, even as I'm filming this right now, is that this video will not be nearly as popular as the one that is centered around men. And that's not like a dig at my viewers, that's a dig at the fandom as a whole. This isn't me saying that I hate Jegulus and Wolfstar and that they don't deserve the attention. I have eaten the exact fics that I'm referencing in numbers up. I just wish that people would appreciate all of the characters in this fandom and not just the male ones. So, shout out to all the queer girls and characters out there. You can enjoy whatever ships you want. Once again, I'm not saying that I dislike those two ships, they're literally like my favorites, but I just wish that everyone got attention in this fandom. I wish that all of the numbers were more even, because there is such a wide gap. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Without jam, bye.